how it feels to be subjected to so much vitriol, viciousness, hatred, attacks, and which you are, because you are the force that you are. Look, people don't attack people who don't make a difference. So if that's any consolation to you as you're wheeled into the respiratory unit at a local hospital, then which I just made up. I have no idea if you are or not, but in all seriousness, it should be some consolation to you. It means that you have an effect.
Well, I know that's my goal, is to have an effect. I mean, I've done a lot of things on the internet over the years, and it's never been done for the sake of the money. It's been because the first thing that I did that felt of consequence, and it was living vicariously to a great extent, when I was Arianna Huffington, her researcher. It was my first, what I felt my real job, where I felt I was on the path towards where I wanted to go. Not working for a Hollywood production company. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be an editor for an entertainment magazine, which I had done. I wasn't passionate about it. But when I went to work for Arianna in the realm of politics, and she was the only right-winger on the west side of L.A. that I could work for, I ended up becoming her researcher. And the first thing that we did together, and obviously she led the charge, she was the columnist, but I was her lowly researcher, was dig up from Arlington National Cemetery a war hero fraud, a guy who pretended to be a war hero, and Clinton granted him a waiver because he claimed to be a war hero from the Merchant Marines, the first waiver to put a Merchant Marine in there. In essence, he was buried there because he was Clinton's top donor. And Arianna was attacked mercilessly by Maureen Dowd, by all the people on CNN, and they said, this is the lowest I've ever seen. This is terrible that somebody would even accuse somebody of this. And I watched how these people accused the messenger, attacked the messenger, and one day I watched from Arianna's house, after she withstood the attacks of the Democrat media complex, I watched her watch the disinterment from an aerial footage on CNN, and she just had this look on her face. I knew that this was going to happen. At no point did Maureen Dowd apologize to her. At no point did anybody from CNN and all the other networks say, wow, we totally misread that. I totally figured out what the Democrat media complex was. It's a absolutely ruthless space. It's the power base of the Democratic Party. They know that they control the media because they know that they don't control the American people, because we are a center-right nation. According to Gallup, there's 2-to-1 ratio of conservatives to liberals. And so the way that they're able to coerce the political class is through dominating the media. And I just said, to hell with it. I'm going to aim every story straight at Maureen Dowd's, forehead. I'm going to go.
By the way, I just want to attach Maureen Dowd and mine, and Alan's, for that matter, anger over the way Clarence Thomas was treated. Just this week, Maureen Dowd cited what happened with France and DSK, Dominique Strauss-Kahn. It's called, in the words of Elaine Scialino, the New York Times correspondent in Paris, that this is France's Clarence Thomas moment. Now, what they're doing is equating utter trivial, alleged dialogue, just dialogue, and trivial at that, even if true.
Zero-grade accusation.
Right, with very substantial charges of rape.
And her cohort, Jill Abramson at the New York Times, was just named the managing editor today.
Just reported that, in fact. Exactly right. The Anita Hill moment. That's what they entitled it. Or titled it. 1-8-Prager-776. Got a lot more to ask Andrew Breitbart, and we'll take questions from you as well who are listening. The book, and it is up at DennisPrager.com, by Andrew Breitbart, is Righteous Indignation. You are listening to The Dennis Prager Show. And the more you know about universities, the more you realize that we're really embarking on a very important project with Prager University, and I ask you to visit it. Just recently, one of the largest newspapers in Argentina had a column by one of the leading writers in Argentina on the Prager University video on the Middle East. So it's making its way around the world, and I invite you to visit it. My guest is Andrew Breitbart, 1-8-PRAGER-776. His book is Righteous Indignation, and we'll take some of your calls now. Anaheim, California, and Matt, you're on with Andrew Breitbart and Dennis Prager. Hi.
Hi, Mr. Prager. Hi, Mr. Breitbart. It's a pleasure to talk to you both.
Hello.
Thank you.
Mr. Breitbart, I wanted to, I know this isn't a current story, but you being on the air made me think of it again. I remembered last year during the, healthcare vote and debacle, there was a very large and very publicized accusation of racism by some of the congressmen, and I remember you'd offered a cash reward for
$100,000. It was the day. It was the day before the vote, when there were 40,000 Tea Party people on Capitol Hill, and Nancy Pelosi orchestrated a walk-through through the Tea Party crowd of the most controversial members of the Progressive Caucus, who looked like they had a level of paranoia in their face, many of them holding up cameras. They were looking for a YouTube moment and did not get it. Barney Frank said that he was called a negative term for being gay, but there was no proof of that. I can't disprove that it happened. But there was a point where Congressman Andre Carson from Indianapolis said, "We walked out of the Cannon building and we were surrounded by a mob." There's an audio of this that we got 2 weeks after the fact. This is him saying, "We walked out of the building, there was a mob." It was like a page out of a time machine. That's his words. I don't even know what that metaphor means. He says, a page out of a time machine. And they started to yell the N-word. And a reporter says, "How many?" There were about 15 people. There were about 400 people surrounding us. There were about 15 people yelling the N-word 15 times. We thought that they were going to throw rocks at us. Then the police took us away. I offered $100,000 because that didn't happen. I called people up. I said, that doesn't make sense. That's such a vivid image. And the $100,000 reward shut up Congressman Carson Lewis. The media stopped talking about it, but the damage was done. Then the Associated Press wrote, the absence of video doesn't mean it didn't happen. Okay? There's just an allegation. There's no corroborating witnesses. And even Congressman Boehner and Michael Steele apologized for the group when they're not even part of the Tea Party. And I said, the Tea Party would never do that. The Tea Party would never do that. If one person yelled that word, somebody would tackle them. I would have tackled them. I would have punched them. I would have said, no, 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 no. There's no way that 400 people surrounded them like that. But the mainstream media made it a reality. And when the AP said to me, that the absence of video doesn't mean it didn't happen, I was so infuriated. I said to the guy, Jesse Washington, I said, I'm going to find video. There were 400 people there. I'm going to find video. And we found four videos from four different angles of them walking down unobstructed, fast down those steps. And I went to ABC, I went to CBS, I went to NBC. I said, you played this accusation up, and the Tea Party is accused of it on ABC, CBS, and NBC of being racist because of this incident. Why don't you play up this video that shows that Congressmen Carson and Lewis are lying through their teeth, and Nancy Pelosi likely made them do it? And they will not show it because the implications are too dark that there is a Democrat media complex, and they do work in cahoots with one another.
Wow. Wasn't there an analogous issue? Was it Dana Milbank of the Washington Post, or is he of the New York Times? Washington Post, remember when there was reporting that when he was campaigning, I believe it was, Barack Obama was called all sorts of things, and nobody else heard it except the reporter? Are you familiar with that? Okay, that was another example which we played up on the show. We have, I don't know if you know this, I know you have been a regular listener of the show, and I'm deeply touched by how it's affected you, but I don't know if you've heard this, because I have an acronym for what we are called regularly on the right, SIXHIRB, SIXHIRB.
Sexist.
Intolerant.
Xenophobic.
Homophobic.
Islamophobic. Racist.
Bigoted.
That's what my book's about. It's called Political Correctness. It's called Multiculturalism. It's cultural Marxism. It's the interpretation of Marx